Hey guys, so I'm doing a little impromptu video today for this missing guy named Ben, and I'm probably going to say his name completely wrong, so I do apologize. It is Chisholm, Chisholm, Chisholm. So I was contacted by somebody to kind of help locate him and kind of tell what happened. I didn't really need to do a reading on this one. He came through loud and clear, and she knew exactly where I was talking about. And then I went ahead and I did the astrology to kind of validate everything and see if I could also validate the area that I was given. So basically, I'm not going to do this normally like I normally do and give you the whole reading and everything. I'm just going to tell you, break down what I got, where I feel he is, what the astrology says to validate everything. And then I have a surprise at the end where the light went off when we were talking about the area. So I will also post that at the end of this. But all the ways to support me are down below. Please hit the like, subscribe, and if you hit the share and copy, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but they are looking for him, so anybody that you feel you need to share it with. I do have somebody going over there next week, hopefully, but I spoke with her and got permission to post this because somebody might get there sooner. So the great thing about the timing of this is that, for one, Jay happened, so they could reference that case to me because it's very similar. And for two, all the planets that were retrograde at that time are now retrograde at this time. And this was in 2022. So when I talk about this case right now, I'm kind of going to bring in the astrology a little bit. I just put a little bit of notes down, but I'm not going to go into all the planets and everything. I'm just going to say like certain things, validate it, etc. Okay. Because I don't want to go through all of his chart. I didn't write down those specific details today. It was just one of those days. So basically this lady contacted me, and I'm not going to put her name out there in case she doesn't want it out there. And she asked me to work this case. And so I said, okay, well, send me a picture of him and I'll see how I want to do this. Do I want to do a reading and then tell you what I got or whatever? Well, all of a sudden I started seeing the area. And so if you look up Magnetic Island, I told her I'm going to try to remember everything that I thought. Okay, sorry, I made those lights go off. All right, so to the best of my ability, I'm going to kind of recall what I told her. I'll probably still kind of see it, and then I'm going to kind of go over what I just spoke about. And this is for entertainment purposes only. Your discretion is advised, but I'm not going into a deep reading. I'm just going to kind of explain because it's not an Autowrite. It's not a regular reading. We were doing this over text. So basically I told her, I said, they've missed him. He's in an area in a spot where they've missed him. I said, you need to go. I said, I give a range when it comes to miles. So just because I say 5 miles does not mean it's exactly 5 miles. It can be 1, 2, 3 in that range of 5 miles. And they do kilometers out there. So I think that's like 8 kilometers or something like that. I was getting 5. So I said, I get like a hiking trail, and I started describing the area. And I said, is there like, just a kind of a cliff or a drop off or a ravine or, a slope on one side and not really on the other. Cause I kept seeing it like, here's a road, the slope was off, cliff, whatever, on one side. And then it's not really too much on the other. I was getting a reference to it being really dense and foresty. Of course, it's an island. I get it, but that's what I'm seeing in my head. And I was getting reference to poles on the right-hand side. She said, yeah, all the poles are on the right-hand side. She told me that his clothes were found by the water tower, but going through this, he showed me his clothes. So I thought, well, he's saying that for a reason, and it's probably the fact that he's not far from his clothes. So I told her, I asked her, is there a tree that has like a ribbon or something tied around it? And she said, yeah, that's on the left-hand side. There's a tree with this thing tied around it. That's the side I searched. And I said, well, did you guys search the right side? And she said they hadn't searched that side. So it's like from the house to the waterfall, those are reference points. So I get reference points, right? And things are symbolic, and we can get things in the area like to describe it. I'm remote viewing a literal area at a at an island. So I'm trying to get specific little details that I wouldn't know. So she said, yes, the tree is on the other side. It's got the ribbon on it. If you keep going, you hit the waterfall. So I'm just going to check from there to the waterfall. And I said, you need to go to the right. The right, like if you're going down the trail, if you're facing the water tower, the right is the way that you need to go. And she said, well, that makes complete sense because we didn't check the right. And the right is where that's the cliff, the drop off. Everything goes off to the right. Okay. And that's where the poles are. He kept showing me the poles. And then he was showing me mushrooms. And I'm like, is that because there's mushrooms in the areas, or did he like do mushrooms at some point? So according to my feeling, because I never saw anybody around him, okay, this was a terrible, tragic accident. And I feel like maybe he was hallucinating or something, like he had taken some bad shrooms or something of that sort. Nothing wrong with that. He's a very hippie-ish, fun-loving type of guy. I feel like he experimented a lot, and he's on the island, so I feel like it's something of that nature. And then he had a tragic fall. So she was saying that the water tower was 5 kilometers, and I was like, interesting. I usually get it in miles, but I guess you could say that. But I would still kind of spread out because it's been 2 years. You know, there might be some spreading. And then I saw a reference to a tree. Like I told her maybe half to a quarter of way down this embankment is what I was getting. And I was getting like trees, of course, but vines on the ground. And she's like, yes, there's a lot of vines there. I actually got stuck in some. And he was showing me, and I hate to say this, but like his skull next to a tree. I felt head pain with this. I feel like he kind of just stumbled, fell down this slope, and it was a terrible accident. I could not see anybody around him, just like I could not see anybody around Jay when I did this. So basically, we did the astrology. He had a lot of retrograde planets at the time. Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto were all retrograde at the time he went missing, and they are all retrograde now. So the timing of her coming to me with this is very interesting, especially after Jay's, and especially with all the planets being retrograde then and retrograde now. So there is a possibility that they could find him if they were to look in this area. Basically what I'm saying is that they need to go right of the water tower, down that slope, or that whole area needs to be checked. Now, from what I remember, she was saying between 2.4, because we were going off degrees. We didn't do the mapping. Now, we might do the mapping. We kind of basically know where he is. Well, we feel like we know where he is. But it was like 2.4 to 2.8 or something like that. Like really close to 3 miles. Okay. And he's got things in his chart that suggest an accident, and that there might be some more organic, earthy substances involved at the 18th degree of being destructive. There may have been a woman that turned him away at some point when he was knocking on doors. He is close to home because his Saturn is in the 5th house. So that's also kind of an area like, and it's in Aquarius. So Aquarius is like electricity and water. It would be like a water tower. There's actually some stuff in the chart that also is like cliffy area, rocky area. There's, I think his moon is in the 4th house, if I remember right. So woman in the tomb, so not far from home. So he is close to home, and that's also community. So Venus, Gemini, I guess he was like very hippie-ish. Pluto and Moon is the 4th house, and the 4th house can equal kind of deceased. Sorry, I just jotted down things that, like I said, I didn't make it regular things like I usually do. So also Neptune in the 6th house, he could have been high. It was retrograde in some way, shape, or form. That's probably why he was knocking on everybody's door. He was like having paranoia. And again, the water tower is there in the 5th house in Aquarius, which water tower can equal Aquarius. the North Node and the Uranus in his 8th house is just a fated accident, unfortunately. But it could be that there was a woman that turned him away, because there's like the way that the Black Moon Lilith is, I think, is in the 10th house, and the way that it is, it could mean that a woman turned him away, being kind of scared about the situation. So again, Pluto and Capricorn would equal a rocky hill, and also Aquarius is high up. So that's another thing for Aquarius, is up high. But Capricorn's rocky things. Okay. And there's some Taurus in there that can equal a tree. Again, also can equal mushrooms. Okay. And basically the 2 okay, so 28 degrees, something was 28 degrees, so there could be between 2.8 and 3 miles. And I told her, I said, he's not far from that water tower, to the right down the slope, like at least. But they're going to have to look in dense area, like in the vines and all of that. Like they're going to have to really look, which is going to be hard, because again, it's a drop off, I believe, which is what I was seeing. And I've never been to this place. I never looked at the map. I never looked at the area. And she's like, oh my gosh, like you described this area to a T, down to the tie on the tree. And I think that was just more to validate, like, you were in this area, or this area, there's a thing around this tree, to tell her, rope or ribbon or whatever, to tell her that I was actually seeing it, because I wouldn't have known that. But yeah, I definitely don't feel he's far from that water tower. Again, to the right, because he kept showing me poles, and there are poles right there to the right of the water tower. So it's almost like I fall down, roll down a hill, go down an embankment. Like it's very similar to Jay in that way. So that's what I have to say about this. Like I said, it's when I talked to Carly, my friend, she was like, well, this is probably one of the easiest cases you've ever done, because like he's right there, and the astrology is just saying it, but he's being missed because of the growth and everything. And now we're looking at bones at this point. So it's not like you're looking at a full thing, full body. So that's something that people have to consider as well. It's going to be a lot harder. So, you're not going to be able to see it from the sky for sure. So helicopters, drones, things like that aren't going to work. It's very tough terrain. So, you have to really somehow, I don't know if you have climbers or whatever it's going to be, just be very, 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 very careful. Because it feels like it's like a very steep slope, cliff, like, area, slope area, whatever, will go down a hill is what I kept asking her, down a hill. So once he showed me those clothes, I felt like he's just really not far. And in his chart, Jesus is saying he's not far from home either, like within the 3 miles. But I said 5 because I got that. But the 5 could be the 5 kilometers, which would equal 3 miles. But it could also be, they're telling you to go further out because of just in case. But I would say because of the degrees, like again, 2.4 to 2.8. So within that 3 mile range, just off to the right, not the left, down the slope. So that's basically what happened. It's just a tragic accident. His chart agrees with that. There's no foul play in this. There's nobody involved in this, which makes sense because I couldn't see anybody feel another energy like I do with a lot of the accidents. I don't feel other energies around. I just kind of see them by themselves. I couldn't really see everything that he was saying. My head hurt really bad. And she said a lot in the astrology chart matches a head injury. So somehow he hit his head, whether he fell or whatever. I think he might have hit a tree or something of that sort, but he hit his head. But it feels like he just got a hold of something bad that was, and that's why he was, I think, showing me the mushrooms that made him took him on a bad trip and made him paranoid. I'm a little confused as to why he would take his clothes off with it being so cold, but I guess with hypothermia or whatever, that he hasn't really showed me, so I can't really say. I have no choice of what comes in and what I'm shown. But in terms of what happened to him, just an unfortunate, faithful, tragic accident is what plays out in his chart. And he would be very close, like not far from home, very close to the water tower down that rock. Basically everything I told her and described her everything about in the area. So searchers, if you're looking, that's where you need to look, but it needs to be thoroughly combed because I feel like he's been missed multiple times, and people, you know, they think that because somebody's missed, they weren't there to begin with. That's not true. I've seen multiple cases where people were there the whole time and it was just, they were just missed due to terrain, not searching in the right place, not seeing. It happens. So, but and plus it was those 3 planets, Saturn, which is the body, Neptune and Pluto, were all retrograde. So, which they are retrograde at this time, but that could mean because they're retrograde then, they're retrograde now. It's a timing thing, and they could be more likely found now. So that, yeah, you know, that's why they didn't find him, unfortunately. That's why it's taking a little bit of time. Is anytime there's retrograde in a chart, things are delayed, especially when it has to do with Saturn. That means there's a delay in finding the body. So that's one thing I want to throw out there. But yeah, that normal reading. But there's not really much else to get on this other than I see him falling and tumbling down this hill, kind of like, or slope or whatever it is, in just the right way, unfortunately. Like I said, there's no foul place, so he's not going to be anywhere else. He's got to be in that area. And that's just not me saying that from my visions, but that's also from his chart. His chart backs everything up, unfortunately. So, all right, I'm going to leave that there. I just want to put out that information so that it's helpful. I've been told the area looks exactly as I described, and she knows exactly where I'm talking about. So I'm hoping that other people will as well. But yes, the right. What needs to. Got it. Brimpod Bear keeps going off. The thing just went off again. What the fuck is going on? And I wasn't recording it. Do it again. It keeps going off. Holy crap. This has gone off like 8 times. Do it again. Oh my god. I can't believe that just happened. All right, so that was super weird because literally my son called in the middle of me making this video, and then when I answered it, sparkles went off about 3 times. I pushed play, didn't go off. I stopped it again. It went off again. So basically, the parts that I caught that you've seen is what I caught. So, but I did catch it a couple times, but it went off more than that. And I'm telling you, sparkles has only ever went off one other time, and I did not catch it on video. So that's the first catch of sparkles going off. And I want to say I'm posting this video for Ben's story. It's no disrespect for anybody or anything like that, but he's very adamant that this is what happened, and his astrology chart backs it up. Look, you cannot change your astrology. If there was anything in the astrology that stated to foul play or him being taken, that's what I would tell you guys. But your astrology goes along with your life path. It goes along with what happens to you. And his astrology reads as a fateful accident. So I don't care if the area has been searched. His astrology points to there. My visions of never seeing the area before points to there. I went into details about what is in that area that there is no way I could have known was there. Unless you're there, you would not know. So that's validating enough for me. And the fact that the astrology chart said the exact, and I mean exact same things as I got between the area, what happened to him, and everything, it's all the same. So the odds of a reading matching exactly the astrology chart and it being totally something else is not very, it's not very, big. So this has been story. This is why I'm telling it. And this is also to bring awareness to his case, because he hasn't gotten a lot of awareness for his case. So, and people can be stubborn about it, but this is, and they might want to think other things. Like they might want to think he was taken. They might want to think there's foul play. There's no foul play in his chart. There's nothing to indicate that he was taken anywhere from his chart. So, and I never saw or felt anybody around him. So I can only tell you what I get and what I give. And I can only tell you what the astrology chart says. And if you really want him found, then you will follow directions as to what he is saying. He's done a lot of validations today with the bear and the light. You'll listen, because this is his story. He was there. He knows. And again, the astrology is backing it up. So I'm not just making this up. So I'm going to leave that there. People can do what they want with it.
Because like Aquarius is like friendship group, and then the 5th house is like parties.
Well, so it is a hiking area. I don't know. Like it could be an area he went to a lot. It wasn't far from his house.
Oh my God. What is his name? Ben? Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was crazy. I just turned that off.
That's so satisfying to see that happen
in
real time.
Yeah, and I literally like turned that off because it kept going off. That was a different light, actually, I think, than the one I turned off. I don't care if it was searched. Lots of it. I can name multiple cases where areas were searched and people were found there. It's just he wasn't found there at that time because he wasn't supposed to be. But he might be. It might be the time now. So thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'll see you next time. Please like, subscribe, and share.